Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome to Old Man Rambles again. Uh, Last weekend, a few days ago, my daughter came home so we could celebrate her birthday. They got home kind of late. They wanted some snacks. My daughter, Erin, had some Tostitos and salsa, and her girlfriend who came down with her had a bowl of my wife's homemade Chex Mix. She got down to the last bowl, bit of the Chex Mix bowl that little bowl she had taken out, and she had everything but one thing. That one thing was this little thing. Does anyone know what this is? And if you don't, I'm going to tell you anyway. This is a Brazil nut. Dropping my Brazil nuts. Drop my nuts. Super little sucker. My daughter then asks her girlfriend, do you know what my grandfather calls these? Being my father-in-law, my wife's father. And she said that he calls them toes. Not just any kind of toes. Something toes. A word that begins with the letter N. The N word, toes. Yes, we're going to talk about that word today. Before we go any further, I'd like to say that I hate the N word. And not just the N word. I hate saying the N word. It feels so juvenile. Like I'm trying to, say something rude in front of my parents and like I'm 4 years old. If I want to have a discussion, I'd just like to be able to discuss something without having to tap dance around this. I realize it's an awful word and no one should be saying it, but I just hate saying the N word. It just, like I said, it feels so stupid and juvenile. But we're going to talk about it a little bit. That word has cropped up a couple times in my father-in-law's lingo. And I don't want to throw him under the bus. I don't believe my father-in-law is racist. But I do know that his mother was, my wife's grandmother. He grew up in a time in Maine when it was way more racist than it is now. My father grew up in a time when the KKK had a huge chapter in the state of Maine. And if he didn't, then his parents did. Definitely his grandparents. His parents and grandparents. KKK used to have a huge chapter, very big in the state of Maine. They protested the Irish immigrants too, because the Irish weren't white enough for them. It's like, that was 1927. Who the hell's whiter than the Irish? We're super white. You don't get whiter than the Irish unless you're Scandinavian. And the KKK protested the Irish coming to Maine in 1927. Man, they're stupid. But what I kind of wanted to talk about is how that word became part of our cultural lexicon in a weird way. I mean, it's racist, but it's like, it became a euphemism for anything dark or ugly, darkly colored, poorly made, shoddy, cheap. And it's just weird how it became part of the background. I remember growing up listening to people's fathers use that word. People who never considered themselves racist. Whenever I confronted someone on this, and I did on occasion, they would always say, well, there's no black people here. They're not going to, I'm not offending anyone. I didn't say, I can't be racist because there's no black people here. I didn't say it to a black person. I'm not calling a black person that word, so I can't be racist. It's okay for me to use it because there's no black people here. And Maine was the whitest state in the country it still is actually. Even with we had a big influx of people of color about 7 or 8 years ago. Don't know why, just all of a sudden there was like a lot more of them here, much more visible. I used to go months without seeing a person of color except where I work. And now I just see them all the time. It was weird because I didn't know why it happened. It was just weird. After being in a majorly white state for so long, to all of a sudden have, a community of people of color. Growing up in the whitest state, literally whitest state in the country, Um, and people just use it, that word, so often, and always defend it because there was no black people here to be offended by it. And to my own shame, I did wind up using it myself a couple of times. I caught myself. It's been over 25 years. Um, and again, I caught myself using it because everyone around me was using it. It just bleeds into the background and you forget about it. And like I said, once I caught myself doing it, I stopped. But it's one of those things that, you know, even though it's extremely offensive, that, you know, people around you use it so infrequently that you stop noticing the offense and it just becomes normal. And I guess that's kind of what I wanted to say. I don't really know how else I can describe it. I guess that all this kind of stuff kind of ran through my head. How it became part of the background and people just use it because it's background noise that they don't even think about anymore. And it all happened because of a Brazil nut. Good hunting.